Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I am Erik, a teacher with LSAT Demon, and joining me today, I'm excited to have Alisha, who's an LSAT Demon student that some of our team members recently met at a LSAC law school forum, and you were nice enough to come by the table and say hi and introduce yourself. So, hey, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
So briefly, tell me about what you've been doing with LSAT Demon, maybe just your LSAT history so far.
Sure, yeah. So I've been studying for the LSAT. I started last summer, and did not really see the end result that I wanted to see. So I decided to wait it out. I graduated in May. So now I'm working. So I'm taking the time, as much time as I need, and getting the work experience. So right now I'm working at a clerk's office to get that work experience while studying for the LSAT. So this summer, I came across LSAT Demon on YouTube, actually, a podcast episode. I was like, this sounds good. I have to check it out. And then once I did and started drilling, hearing and learning the concepts, seeing personal growth from it, I was like, this actually works, and I'm going to stick with this.
What caught your interest? You said you listened to a podcast and something sounded like it clicked for you. I'm interested to hear what that was.
Well, I think the first video I saw was like someone's success story.
Cool.
Going from like their diagnostic of like a 130 something or 140 something to a high 160s or high or 170s. So like seeing that like proof with the concepts that were being talked about, like quality over quantity, like taking the time that you need and like not rushing through the test. I was like, there's some gems here.
Nice.
I should get on that. Yeah. So
cool. Well, those concepts that are central to what we teach, don't rush, quality over quantity, you felt a connection to another important part of your life, another pursuit of yours that you've put a lot of time into. And that's what we're here to find out more about. You have, I think, a really interesting perspective for how LSAT prep matches another kind of prep. Why don't you tell me about that?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually studied the violin performance in my undergrad. And so I have studied from teachers, the violin for many years, and practiced honing that kind of craft, that musical craft. And so while I was studying for the LSAT with LSAT Demon and listening to these concepts, I was like, hold up, I've learned these concepts before. I've practiced these concepts before with violin. And like I heard like sports analogies on the podcast, and like these are universal concepts on how to develop skills and hone a craft and see growth. And so that just like I got hit with that realization, and I made so many parallels with concepts. And yeah, so it's like, so I just need to translate that over and I'll be good to go.
Yeah. What's the biggest parallel that you can think of?
Well, first would be quality over quantity. So the concept of an hour of very focused studying, very focused practice is going to be way better for you than like 6 hours of practice or studying where like you're not focused. You don't know what you're practicing. You don't know what you're studying. And that'll be way better in the long run. Like with violin, if I'm taking an hour, and I know I just have an hour, it will be so worth my time because I know ahead of time, okay, so I got to learn these notes. This is how I should practice this because I want this type of sound. I want this type of bow articulation. So I know going into it exactly what I want to practice. And so efficient practicing, focused practicing, and making sure I'm not distracted. Yeah, so that quality over quantity, because I'm the type of person that's like, I'm gonna go all in. I'm just gonna grind it out.
Sure. No, that really resonates with me. Pun intended, I guess. But when you say you go into a practice session with a goal, like you're going for a particular sound, or maybe there's a particular passage that you know you really need to hammer out, we can do the same thing with LSAT study. And we did a podcast episode recently about setting a goal score, like, oh, I want to score a 170 or a 175 or a 160. And more important goals are not what is your goal score, but what's your goal for today? What are you focused on today? So what are the sorts of goals that you would set for yourself in LSAT study for like, this is what I'm going to study today or practice today?
Well, like for example, like earlier on, I was not really understanding necessary and sufficient assumptions, things like that. So, okay, so like today, I'm just gonna do these types of questions. I'm just going to go over these lessons in the lessons portion of LSAT Demon, and I'm just going to focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do something else the next day. I might return to it, you know, a couple days later and see that, okay, so now I'm getting this a little more. And like also having the realistic expectations that like, you're not going to get it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or at least for me, it's like, I have to set that realistic expectation that like slow growth is still growth. Like it's good growth that's necessary in order to see that long-term goal down the road. And that's actually another thing that I had really realized with practicing my violin that I know is very similar to studying the LSAT, which is that it's so easy to get overwhelmed by like, there's so much to study.
Right.
There's so much, I was like, there's just so many areas that I need to grow, that I need to work on. Like, where do I even start? And so I just think like the LSAT Demon's approach of like, it's one question at a time. It's, you know, one word at a time. Just take it chunk by chunk, you know, like even with the goals every single day, like
Mm-hmm.
just little bits here and there, like set those short-term goals so that you know, you can see the long-term goal like
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah, I guess for violin, it might be like you're working on a piece and it's 3 pages, 3 sheets long, and you're like, I'm messing up all over the place. There's so much to do. Well, okay, today it's just about these 4 bars, maybe breaking it down piece by piece. Yeah, cool.
And you know, yeah, if you talk to, you know, to anyone who's like honing a craft, like sure, like sometimes we might just want to like breeze through a piece for fun, but really the way that we practice is like you said, like bar by bar. Okay, today
Yeah.
I'm just going to practice measures 1 through 20. That's it. That's what I'm focusing on. And then the next day you might, you know, review that maybe a little bit and then go on to something else. And then it's yeah, and that's how you get later down the road that, okay, I've really honed this in. I've really practiced it in. And so it's going to be easier down the road rather than just like trying to play the whole piece every single day.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And the other thing, because I have some experience with practicing musical instruments as well, and when you get really intentional about, okay, these are, like you said, measures 1 through 20, that's what I'm working on today, it's important to focus on the measures that really need your attention. Like, I know from playing musical instruments, it feels a lot nicer to be like, oh, this passage, I've got that down. I'm great at this passage. It sounds great. It feels good when I play it. Why don't I just do that over and over again today? Like, that feels really nice and satisfying, but that's not going to lead to forward progress.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Sure.
Because
Yep.
it is like, it is a hard thing, like being patient with growth. And I think that sometimes because there's an intention of working hard, of hard work, and that we want to see that goal at the end, that like it's easy to get indulgent in the good things because we want to feel like, okay, our hard work is paying off.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to like trust myself, like, okay, that is paying off, but like let's focus on what you
Yeah.
actually need to work on. Yeah.
Yeah. And for an LSAT student, that could be something like, well, I just love drilling LR, but I don't love taking timed sections of RC. So I think there's a balance to be found where like you do still want it to be fun and you want to enjoy the process a little bit. So yeah, drill some LR, have some fun, do that, but don't neglect those really problematic passages. That's where your work needs to go. So there's a balance to be had, but you need to focus on your weaknesses. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. With understanding weaknesses, one violinist that I love watching her practice, and even if you're not a violinist, she's just a really cool woman to watch how she practices. Her name's Hillary Hahn. She has an Instagram account. I think she still has a YouTube channel, but I don't know how active she is on it. But at least on Instagram, she posts videos of herself practicing. And she's phenomenal. And she could just, focus on what she's actually good at, or what she's good at in the moment, and like relish in that. But like you can just see all the gears turning in her head just watching
Mm-hmm.
how she practices. And when something's not exactly how she likes, even if it sounds good to us, it's like, no, but this is not the sound that I want. Maybe I want to test it out this way. You can see like her taking like, okay, like 5 seconds. Like, what is it that I need to do? What can I change here? What should I be doing with my bow arm, or with my
Mm.
fingers, or what can I adjust about myself to get what I want here? And then she'll try something out and then you'll hear it change a little bit. And then sometimes it's like, okay, great. And then other times it's like, oh, actually, I still don't really like that. Let me try something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that trial and error of figuring out what works for you and honing or like trying to get better with your weaknesses is also super important. And
Yeah.
that's also part of the process.
Mm-hmm. And getting really specific, it sounds like, about, well, I hear the thing that I don't like and I know that something is off, but translating that into a process of discovery or of self-analysis of saying, here's the specific tweak that I can make, like you said, to your bow arm or how you're fingering a particular passage. Like, what's the little individual change to be made or to fix in order to get it right? So yeah, I think same thing with the LSAT for sure, where it's not enough to just say, oh, well, I made that mistake and I shouldn't have made that mistake. Okay, cool. Well, what led you to make that mistake, and what specific thing can you change in your approach, in how you read, the time that you took, the prediction that you made? What's the little tweak that you can make to get it right next time? Love that.
And I think that's like exactly like the comparison of
Mm-hmm.
like getting a question wrong. And then instead of just being like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see why I got it wrong. Okay, I can see why that's the right answer. But actually going through like, why was I led to choose this answer? What was going through my head? What was
Yeah.
my prediction? How was that, and like trying to figure out all the little mechanics of it, and figuring out, okay, so like that's kind of my root problem there, and then tweaking that. And then in the future, if you come across a question like that again, then you can navigate your growth.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, another question for you. I'm sure you're doing tons of work, probably on your own, also with ensembles, practicing a lot as groups. But let's just imagine that you have like one session with an ensemble where you get together as a group and you practice like one of those per week. And that's really the moment that you're practicing for. What's better? 20 minutes a day every day throughout the week, or cram in like 5 hours the morning before you go and play with the ensemble?
That's easy, 20 minutes a day.
Okay.
But I am guilty of cramming as well as
Sure.
like most people, I would say a lot of people. But yeah, from experience, absolutely 20 minutes a day. It's also way better for your mental health. It's
That's true.
so stressful. Like before a rehearsal, it's like, oh crap. Like I gotta I gotta really grind this in. So like you're stressed. It's like everything is just not
Yeah.
good. And the outcome's just never the same as just like taking a little time every single day to just look at your part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you able to translate that into your LSAT prep consistency a little every day?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm like I said, I'm the type of person who if I think, okay, like I got to do this, I'm gonna put my mind to it. Like I'm the type of person that's prone to just like try to grind it out in like 6 hours or something like that, And it's been helpful knowing that like, wait, actually, it's more beneficial for me to just take an hour or two a day.
Mm-hmm.
Just really putting in all my focus and being consistent about it. And then that's actually going to get me a better result. I'm going to have better mental health
Mm-hmm.
than if I just, try to cram something in before a rehearsal or before a practice test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question I have for you, and forgive me if this sounds a little grandiose, but I think one of the joys of music is that it is a lifelong pursuit. This is not like I'm a runner and I just have to accept that I'm going to slow down as I get older. And there will probably come a point in my life where I'm not going to be running very well anymore, if at all. But music, with maybe some exceptions, like you see people continue to play music at a very high level throughout their entire life. So that's something that is a skill, a lifelong skill that you're building, which is awesome. Do you see that in the LSAT as well? I know it feels like a finite thing that you're studying for this test that's going to happen and then you're done with the LSAT. But talk about anything that you feel is actually building a lifelong skill.
Oh, they're absolutely lifelong skills. I think with violin, it's a physical thing, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's not as physical as running. So
Yeah, I
those,
guess you'll lose, some dexterity,
yeah, yeah,
perhaps,
some
and yeah,
agility
sure.
as you get older, but yeah, that you can definitely play at a high level for a longer period of time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I something that I've been realizing I've developed these skills, but if you don't really maintain, practice them once in a while and like, maintain those skills, like they do kind of go away. And so with with practice, like now I've graduated, I still have to make sure that I practice because I know that it's
Yeah.
it's something and the same thing with I imagine the LSAT reading and critical thinking skills. That is something that it's not just like one and done, like that's it.
Hmm.
Like maintaining those skills too, and they're lifelong skills. I mean, I've I've actually I've had experience with music education
Mm.
for children. And so this is like a little outside of just performance and, crafting the skill, but
Hmm.
like understanding how the skills translate to other things in life.
Yeah.
And I can imagine it's the same thing with the LSAT and, other aspects of life. And so like teaching a child how to play the violin, they're not just learning how to play the violin, they're learning how to set goals for themselves and achieve those goals. They're learning how to have realistic expectations. They're learning how to have critical thinking skills and, self-awareness and being able to reflect on something or being able to navigate performance anxiety, for example.
Hmm.
And those are lifelong skills. I mean, that's something that you can take with you with sports, with, college and classes, with your job. Like or even like picking up a new hobby. They're just skills that translate to everything. They're definitely lifelong skills. Yeah.
Beautifully said. Well, thanks. This has been a real treat. Like we said, you hear a lot of athletic analogies, probably just nature of who we are at LSAT Demon, but always great to get a different perspective as well and recognize that, like you said, these things that we're working on, these skills that we're building, they're gonna serve you well in other aspects of your life as well. And there's so much crossover with different things in this test. That's part of what makes this test so cool and so fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that you wanted to tell our listeners before we wrap it up?
Well, one thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel way more confident now than I did last summer. And I think that has something to do with, I definitely think it has something to do with the approach of a friend of mine. It's like a motivational kind of quote, but so it's not mine. But he always said don't rise to the occasion, fall back on your training. And
Mm.
that's something that I know that's like used in sports a lot, but I was using that all the time with violin. And that's something that like I'm always telling myself with the LSAT. And I think that's just also that universal concept of everything we were talking about, and here about like honing a craft and quality over quantity. It's like I do have way more confidence of my training that I can fall back on it. Okay, I'm gonna be okay. And be able to navigate performance anxiety or navigate
Mhm.
like the mental stress or anxiety of am I gonna get this kind of score, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah,
When you're there on stage with some performance jitters, you can just realize, hey, I have nailed this dozens of times in rehearsal and in my own practice. Nothing different. I'm just playing the same piece. Yeah.
exactly.
Excellent. Well, Alicia, thanks so much again. So glad that you came up and said hi to our team at that table in the LSAC forum. For any listeners who have one of those law school forums in their area and attend, be on the lookout. Come say hi if you see LSAT Demon at a table there. Always great to meet our students and hear your stories. So yeah, thank you once more, Alicia. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
All right. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.